I knew you from somewhere. Mark Davidson, CEO of Eastbridge Holdings, looked up from the sleek conference table, the skyline behind him blurred by floor-to-ceiling glass. His voice cut across the hush like a blade. You're the consultant who saved my merger in Singapore. He gave a low chuckle, more incredulous than amused. Hell, we owe you half our revenue from last quarter. Silence slammed down like a verdict. Across from him, my boss and my father-in-law, Richard Cole, froze. His expression tightened, eyes scanning the room like a man looking for exits that didn't exist. Color drained from his face, as if someone had reached in and switched him off. I let a sliver of a smile touch my mouth, just enough to say I warned you. The first time I shook Richard's hand was at a dinner he hosted for his daughter and me. Crystal glasses, white linen, a dining room built for declarations. His handshake was firm, too eager, the kind meant to assert dominance. He called me son before dessert and junior behind my back. At the time, I took it as awkward bravado, maybe his way of folding me into family. I believed him when he said he admired men who built themselves from the ground up. I believed him when he offered me a position at Cole and Hartman after the wedding. Said he wanted to keep family close. I didn't realize he meant under his thumb. It took 6 months for the first cracks to show. Ideas I pitched in boardrooms were dismissed with condescending smiles. Clients I had personally brought in were quietly rerouted and reassigned under his name. The worst part was the way he seeded doubt in my wife's mind, softly, persistently, like a rot. He's trying, dear. Business is complex. Maybe he needs more experience. And she believed him. The man who walked her down the aisle spent a year cutting my legs out from under me, and she couldn't or wouldn't see it. I noticed. I saw every deferred bonus buried in the finance reports, every accidental exclusion from key emails, every smug little smile at meetings when I was left out of decisions I had started. But it wasn't until the awards gala that I made my decision. The firm had secured a major international contract, one I had negotiated, researched, and landed. That night, Richard toasted to teamwork, never once mentioning my name. He raised his glass to a sea of applause, shot a look at my wife. Her claps were slower than the rest. Her eyes, not on me. Something in me hardened. I stopped waiting for fairness. I stopped assuming merit would rise on its own. I started where he never thought to look. Behind the numbers, buried in the bones of the business he thought he ruled. Quietly, methodically, I dug. What emerged was a pattern. Offshore accounts connected to shell companies, kickbacks masked as vendor fees, doctored audits, sloppy, entitled corruption. It was more than embezzlement. It was hubris. I documented everything. Dates, transfers, inconsistencies. I built a case. But evidence alone doesn't shift power. I needed leverage. Personal, public, irreversible. I didn't approach Mark Davidson through work. I found him on the golf course, at charity auctions, black-tie dinners, casual conversations. I listened. I learned. Mark valued 2 things, honesty and impact. I gave him both. We built something stronger than contracts. Trust. By the time Richard called me into his office for my performance review, the final stroke was ready. He leaned back behind his oversized oak desk, his voice dripping with disdain. Your resume seems embellished. Pity my daughter chose you. I doubt you've ever handled major accounts. He waited for the squirm, the stumble. I gave him neither. Then the door opened. Mark Davidson stepped inside. Casual as you please, the room going still. Richard's voice cracked. Didn't expect you today, Mark. Davidson smiled, calm and lethal. Didn't expect to see him here. He walked over, placed a firm hand on my shoulder. I was just telling my board how this man saved our Singapore deal. Didn't know you'd hired him. Good move. We're moving all our business here, on the condition he runs point. Richard's face went gray. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The fallout began within hours. Davidson's statement went to press before the day ended, crediting me for Eastbridge's growth. 3 more clients followed by the weekend. On Monday, the board called an emergency meeting. I walked into that room calm, precise, and ready. across the polished mahogany. I slid a folder filled with every wire transfer, every buried expense, every off-the-books contract. Silence gave way to chaos. Raised voices. Furious questions. Richard tried denial. Then outrage. Then the wounded father routine. I watched him unravel. The SEC didn't take long. Davidson had friends in all the right places. 2 weeks later, Richard was escorted from the building in handcuffs. The media was merciless. White-collar kingpin toppled by his own son-in-law. My wife called once. I didn't answer. She'd made her choice tonight. She applauded his toast instead of mine. I took the corner office. Not out of spite, but out of principle. Respect isn't gifted. It's earned or seized. I sat behind the same desk where Richard once tried to reduce me to nothing. The leather still held his weight, the view just as wide and cold. Mark walked in that afternoon, grinning. Hell of a move, kid. I gave him a half smile, the same one I'd worn the first time Richard underestimated me. I don't play games I don't intend to win. People say revenge is best served cold. They're wrong. It's best served documented, deliberate, and with an audience. Richard saw me as a charity hire, a convenience, an eager son-in-law who'd fall in line. He forgot who I was before I ever met his daughter, before I ever shook his smug little hand. I didn't need his approval. I just needed his mistake. He handed it to me wrapped in ego, and I unraveled it piece by arrogant piece until he hanged himself with the strings he thought he was pulling on me. I don't feel sorry for him, not when I remember every smirk, every whispered doubt, every time he used my marriage to undermine me. Some betrayals demand a reckoning. Now the office is quiet. The city burns orange in the sunset, gold against the windows. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about the fact that I didn't fold. I didn't break. And when the game turned brutal, I didn't blink. He underestimated me. They all did. Now they know.